A Body of Doctrinal Divinity, Book 1, Chapter 1, Argument 3a, on the being of God. 3. The third argument proving the being of God shall be taken from the works of creation, concerning which the Apostle Paul says, "The invisible things of God, from the creation of the world, are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead." Romans 1:20. Plutarch, in answer to a question, "Whence have men the knowledge of God?" replies, "They first receive the knowledge of him from the beauty of things that appear. For nothing beautiful is made in vain, nor by chance, but wrought by some art. That the world is beautiful is manifest from the figure, the colour, the magnitude of it, and from the variety of the stars above the world. And these so clearly display the being and power of God as to leave the heathen without excuse. As the Apostle Paul observes, and as this and other instances show, most admirable was the reasoning of the wild Greenlander, which he declared to a missionary to be the reasoning of his mind before his conversion. He said to him, "It is true, we are ignorant heathens and know nothing of God or a Saviour, and indeed, who shall tell us of him till you came? But thou must not imagine no Greenlander thinks about these things. I myself have often thought a kayak, a boat, with all its tackle and implements, does not grow into existence of itself, but must be made by the labour and ingenuity of man, and one that does not understand it would directly spoil it. Now, the meanest bird has more skill displayed in its structure than the best kayak, and no man can make a bird. But there is still a far greater art shown in the formation of a man than of any other creature. Who was it that made him? I thought myself that he possessed from his parents, and they from their parents, but some must have been the first parents. Whence did they come? Common report informs me they grew out of the earth. But if so, why does it not still happen that men grow out of the earth? And from whence did this same earth itself, the sea, the sun, the moon, the stars, arise in existence? Certainly there must be some being who made all these things, a being that always was and can never cease to be. He must be inexpressibly more mighty, knowing and wise than the wisest man. He must be very good too, because that everything that he has made is good, useful and necessary for us. Ah, did I but know him! How would I love him and honour him? Who hath seen him? Who has ever conversed with him? None of us poor men. Yet there may be men too that know something of him. Oh, that I could speak with such. Therefore, he said, as soon as I ever heard you speak of this great being, I believed it directly with all my heart, because I had so long desired to hear it. A glaring proof this, that a supreme being, the first cause of all things, is to be concluded from the works of creation. The notion of the eternity of the world has been imbibed by some heathens, but sufficiently confuted by others, and then Aristotle, to whom it is ascribed, asserts that it was an ancient doctrine, and what all men received from their ancestors, that all things are of God and consists by him. And these that believe the divine revelation cannot admit of any other doctrine, but must explode the notion of the eternity of the world, and of its being of itself, since that assures us that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Also, that all things were made not of things which do appear, but out of nothing. Genesis 1 verse 1 and Hebrews 11 verse 3. For be it that the heavens and the earth were made out of chaos or out of pre-existent matter, it may be reasoned, asked out of what the pre-existent matter made. The answer must be out of nothing, since it was by creation, which is the production of something out of nothing, and which can never be performed by the creature. 4. Out of nothing, nothing can be made by that. If therefore all things are originally produced out of nothing, it must be by one that is almighty, whom we rightly call God. No creature can produce itself. This involves such contradictions as can never be admitted, for then a creature must be before it was, as that which makes must be before that which is made. It must act and operate before it exists, and be and not be at one and the same time, which are such glaring contradictions. as sufficiently confute the creature's making itself, and therefore its being must be owing to another cause, even to God the Creator. For between a creature and God there is no medium, and if it could be thought or said that the most excellent creatures men made themselves, besides the above contradictions which would be implied, it must be asked, why did not they make themselves wiser and better, since it is certain they have knowledge of beings superior to them? And how is it that they know so little of themselves, either of their bodies or of their souls, if both were made by them? And why are they not able to preserve themselves from the desolation to which they are subject? It may be further observed that effects which depend upon causes in subordinate to one to another cannot be traced up to ad infinitum, but must be reduced to some first cause, where the inquiry must rest, and that first cause is God. Now here is an ample field to survey, which furnishes out a variety of objects, the full proofs of deity. There is nothing in the whole of creation the mind can contemplate, the eye look upon, or hand lay hold on, but what proclaims the being of God. When we look up to the heavens above us, the surrounding atmosphere, the air in which we breathe, which compresses our earth and keeps it together, the stellar space and spreading sky, bespangled with stars of light, and adorned with two great luminaries, the sun and the moon, especially the former, what inexhaustible fountain of light and heat, and under whose benign influence so many things are brought forth on earth, whose circuit is from one end of the heaven to the other. There is nothing hid from the heat thereof. When we consider this form, magnitude and virtue, its proper distance from us, being not so near to us, to scorch us, not too remote to be of no use to us, the motion given it at first, in which it is proceeded without stopping, but once, as is supposed in the days of Joshua, a motion it has made now almost 6,000 years. The course it has steered and steers, so that all parts of the earth, at one season or another, receive benefit by it, and the way it's been guided in, without varying or erring from it, all this while. Whoever reflects on these things must acknowledge it be the work of an almighty wise, almighty agent we call God, and that it must be upheld, guided and directed by his hand alone. When we take a view of the earth, of the whole terraqueous globe, hanging on nothing, like a ball in the air, poised with its own weight, the different parts of it, and all disposed for the use of man, stored with immense riches in the heart of it, and stocked with habitations upon it, the various sorts of animals of different forms and shapes, made some for strength, some for swiftness, some for bearing burdens, other for drawing carriages, some for food, others for clothing, the vast variety of the feathered birds that cut the air, the innumerable kinds of fish that swim the ocean. The consideration of all this will oblige us to say, Lord, thou art God, which has made the heavens and the earth, and sea, and all that is in them is. Acts 4:25. In short, there is not a shell in the ocean, nor a sand on the shore, nor a spire of glass in the field, nor any flower of different hue and smell in the garden, but what declare the being of God. But especially our own composition is deserving of our notice, the fabric of the body, the faculties of the soul, the body, its form and shape, while other animals look downwards to the earth, osim homai, sublime, dedicatis dedit Deus, as the poet says, man has a lofty countenance, given him to behold the heavens, to lift up his face to the stars, and for what is this erect posture given him, but to adore his Creator? And it is remarkable that there is a natural instinct in a man to lift up his hands and eyes to heaven, when either they have received any unexpected mercy or way of unthankfulness for it, or are in any way distressed, as supplicating deliverance from it, which supposes a divine being, to whom they owe the one, and from whom they expect the other. Each of the parts and members of the body are so framed and disposed as to be subservient to one another. So the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of thee, nor the head to the foot, I have need of you. The same may be observed of every other member. The inward parts, which are weak and tender, on which life much depends, were they exposed, would be liable to much danger and hurt. But these are clothed with skin and flesh and fenced with bone and sinews, and every bone and every nerve and every muscle are put in their proper places.